Hello, everyone. Welcome to Empowerment Moment with Dr. G. Hello, hello, hello. I can't believe it. It's the month of May, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. And as always, I'm just so excited that I get to talk and share some things that are on my heart and on my mind with all of you. And so, as always, I want to see how you all doing. I hope you're all doing great. I I am totally excited that this is a new month where we can share some of the things that we've been doing. So we had our autism awareness month in April, and it was really fantabulous. We did our Bowling for Autism event, which I think I shared last month. And then, of course, Haven International, they did a lot of great stuff. I am so proud of the team, Jennifer, and the program there. And so, if you ever want to check out havenint.org. Haven, HAVENINT.org. That's our other organization that's doing work for individuals with autism and other intellectual disabilities. I think about exactly almost 2 years ago that we started this program. And for those of you who know, my goal was established to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities. And one of the mission component of what we do is really to empower. Empowerment means really reminding people that there's power within them. God created us in this amazing body and with a body, soul, and spirit, and with a mind that despite the challenges that we face and go through, we need to be reminded that we are special and we are wonderfully made. And sometimes as we go through challenges, we can be overwhelmed. So tonight's topic that I coined, and it came out of just listening to someone talking about finding your purpose in your pain. So I'm going to have some conversation about that. And of course, I have my sidekick here, Senna. Say hello to everybody. Senna, of course, is, she's one of those individuals in my life who I have been blessed to be acquainted with.
Acquainted is a choice term.
She's a part of me. Part of my DNA was passed on to her. If you don't know her, she's my first daughter. I was going to say she's my daughter, but then I have more than one. So I need to make sure that I get that clarified. So who has been a blessing beyond blessing. And I told her that as we're doing this topic today, I was going to tap into her to kind of share her nuggets. And I also want to welcome Chris, who joined us online. And then, of course, my goal is blessed to have a program coordinator with us, Janet, who's joined us tonight as well, too. So Janet, every so often I'll pop in and say, hey, say something. So if that happens, don't feel shy, share, because it's all part of people getting to know you. But the title of the topic today is Purpose in Pain. There's a purpose in your pain. And I think about the word pain, and I imagine that there are a lot of families that are going through pain today. Families in Texas and families who have lost their loved ones, and they go through this, and you're just asking very difficult questions. So sometimes we will wonder, how could God possibly use the pain of our past or even the pain we're going through now for good? Yet over and over and over in the Bible, we see examples of how God takes sometimes the darkest, most difficult situations in people's lives and use them for his glory. I can honestly tell you that I will not be here doing what I'm doing without having been or walking a journey that I still consider rather very painful and is still ongoing. And is as difficult as it has been, it has also been a source of finding meaning in life. So we think about for many folks that are listening or are listening tonight, part of the mission of my life and the life of my family is really knowing that God created us for a purpose. And my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is what allows me to keep going and propels me forward. And I imagine that, you know, you have to find your purpose in what you're going through. And for me, is that foundation of the Bible. And so I often come in here and share stories in the Bible as means to connect us back to the present and us also how to continue to have the hope that we have. And tonight's story that I just want to just pull out of the Bible is the story of Joseph. And if you look in the Old Testament, it's in Genesis chapter 37, and it goes all the way through 50. And it tells a story about how his brothers were so full of jealousy and hatred for this young man, and that they sold him into slavery because he had a dream, he shared his dream. And in his dream, he imagined that both his father and mother and his brothers will bow to him. And at that time, he was young. He was about 17. He didn't really have a lot of wisdom. So he shared this dream. And they're like, are you kidding me? We're your siblings. I'm going to bow down to you. So they plotted and sold him into slavery. And once he was sold in slavery, his life didn't even just get bad, it got worse, right? It got worse because where he landed in Egypt and landed into serving as a servant in a house, the master of that house wanted him to wanted him to have intercourse with him, and he was not interested. And so because of that, he got himself in trouble with her, and she lied about him and caused him to land in jail. And he was in jail, and while he was there, he managed to still have an outward hope, and was really incredible in terms of being able to inspire other people, even though he has been lied against. His brothers had turned their backs against him. So many things that could have gone wrong went wrong, and yet he kept a positive attitude. So one has to think, what is it that made him keep an attitude like that, right? So sometimes many of us will face betrayal. We may face rejection. We may face abandonment. The things that were promised to us, we may not receive it. And these feelings can be very overwhelming, especially when it's at the hands of the people that are supposed to love you and care about you. But despite of it all, God can be at work. God is at work, rather. And in the case of Joseph, God was at work. So here it is that he felt betrayed by his brothers. He was by them. He got into jail for something he didn't do. And he worked there, and he was there for a long time. He was almost in this journey for about 13 years. 13 years. So sometimes when we're walking through certain seasons of life, it may seem like it's endless, like how long is this issue going to last? How long is it this thing that feels very hopeless? How long is it going to go on for? And so if we take the story of Joseph, somehow he managed to maintain that attitude. And I believe that's because he had faith. He had faith in God that no matter what he's going through, God will see him through it. And so that's kind of like what I want to encourage all of us today. And I'm going to throw some questions out there in a minute. But what is it that keeps you grounded in the midst of it? And you can say faith in God, but what else? So I will pause here for a minute and ask that question. So now, what is it that keeps you grounded when you face some challenges, some, painful circumstances? What keeps you grounded? I'll throw that out there. And I also want to throw that out to our Facebook friends who are on there. Send us manning the Facebook page. So I asked that question. What is it that keeps you grounded?
Well, I think the first thing I usually do is just acknowledge what is happening. I think oftentimes when people are experiencing pain or experiencing difficult situations, your first reaction, or at least for me, is just shut it down and keep moving, just have to keep going. And that isn't sustainable. And I've found, especially for myself for this week and the past couple weeks, just seeing the news has been really difficult. And your first reaction, my first reaction was see it and shut it down. I would close it. But that's not sustainable, because eventually those feelings will come back up. They will, you'll feel them, you'll experience them, and it bubbles over. So the first thing I always do is just stop, and I'm like, you know what, this is happening. And you have to learn to address those feelings and some of the pain and the difficulty that you're going through. So I think that's always been something that I work on, is just journaling, write it down, and confronting some of the feelings and emotions I'm going through. And then I kind of use that as, a teacher. Experience is the greatest teacher that life has to offer. So I've always used some of the things that have been the most difficult have turned out to be some of the most rewarding, or some of the things that have taught me the greatest lessons. So
Thank you for sharing that. I just think that point about acknowledgement is so crucial. It gets the point across that whatever you're walking through, if you acknowledge that this is a painful season, that this thing is hurting my feeling, it is beginning to reconcile that this is something that I need to deal with. And so I really love that answer. Just shows that your growth and in that way, and not push things under the table. And I believe that that's what a lot of us are seeing on TV with these children, of what happened. It's just incredibly hard to imagine, what those parents are going through right now. You put your child on a bus perhaps, or drop them off at school, and the next call you get, something as tragic has happened. And I can only imagine the hurt and the disappointment and the pain that is coming in, that's inflicted by somebody else. And all of us can share in being aghast, like, how could this happen? But we can never, unless you walk their journey, I'm sure you can never truly necessarily understand it fully. So I'll throw it out there to also those who have joined us online and also who are on here. How have you maintained that sense of being grounded when you're faced with challenges, or sense of rejection or abandonment or betrayal? Or I'll throw it also out there. Janet, I see your camera is on, so maybe I'll throw that question to you.
It's very difficult sometimes, honestly, to be grounded. I guess you just have to keep in mind, yes, there are some tragic things that are going to happen sometimes, but not all days are tragic, right? Not all times are tragic, or not all situations are tragic. And that's going to keep you grounded, right? The hope for the good days and the good times, and the good times we've had and the good times that are coming. We pray for the ones that lost their lives, or for the terrible situation, and we have to stay grounded and move on. I believe it's again, like you said, it's hard to be really in their shoes, right? But I can only imagine, because to lose your own child, or to lose anybody, is a terrible thing.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And so as I was thinking about the topic today, I was just thinking about those of us as family members who are walking a journey, but to see that the dream of what you have is not there anymore. And I can imagine that those families, I can't even begin to
I can imagine
how that, how they feel for, in that way. So I thank you for the contribution. There are others that are on their pad, or Chris, you don't have to turn on your camera necessarily, but what are the things that keeps you grounded in the midst of the feelings of feeling either betrayed or rejected or abandoned or being overwhelmed? What are some of the things that you do or depend on to keep you grounded? All right. So we'll also throw that question out to our Facebook friends. Do share because we want to all glean from it. So continue the story. So we know the story with Joseph, it didn't end bad. It actually ended good. Eventually, what seemed like a hopeless circumstances, Joseph became like Pharaoh's, who was in Egypt, his second in command. So he went from jail to the palace. Why? Because he had a dream, brother. Pharaoh had a dream that only Joseph could interpret. And not only did he interpret it, he gave them the wisdom or the ideas to do that. And before you know it, he went from that place where now he was able to save his family and all of Egypt from famine and death. So looking back, Joseph was able to acknowledge that God never left him, even in the midst of the challenges. That maybe in the back, in all that, God was coordinating something, a miracle for him all along. But mind you, it was a 13-year journey. In that 13 years, something was being cooked. He was being strengthened. His faith never shook. One challenge after the other, he maintained it. And I think for a lot of us who care for special needs individuals, we find ourselves going through one cycle or the other. I know I'm in a season right now where Nicholas is turning 21. He's turned 21 in 2 weeks. And we're at that crux, that road of, okay, now we're transitioning into adulthood. And this transition has not been the easiest at all. I mean, when people ask me, how are you doing it? I just say grace of God, really, because without that, you will just say, oh my gosh, it's over, it's so hard. And I know there are families that are listening to me. And I want to tell you this, take it one day at a time, one moment at a time. Sometimes when you start to look too far ahead, it could be overwhelming. It could be downright just overwhelming because you can't fathom how is it going to work out. And so what I'll encourage you is one moment at a time. And I believe that probably what Joseph did. I mean, if you're in jail and you don't see any end in sight in being getting out there, yet he had hope. He was encouraging other people. And that's what I look for. I get around people. I was talking to a woman in Ghana the other day. She has a 20-year-old son, and she just says, how hard it was. And she had a dream that one day she can start her own school or program. And she just, was talking about how hard it was to think about what she would need to put a program together that her son could be a part of, because she didn't have anything that he could do per se. And I remember saying to her, whatever happens, just have hope. Have hope, because you just don't know. And a conversation with her, we started, my team in Ghana and I started giving her ideas. We said, just think about maybe just hiring one teacher, a part-time teacher, retired teacher, to start to kind of work with you. And that gave her encouragement, right? Because without that, there was like, what do you do? And the point there is that somebody connected the two of us to have conversation, and that conversation encouraged her. And I left feeling a little bit better about myself, because I'm like, if nothing at all, I gave somebody an idea, and that idea was enough to start something. So the reality is that while we're waiting for the miracle to occur, like Joseph, we will experience some pain and heartache in some areas of our life. Some of us suffer from unspeakable tragedy, and as we just talked about today, or inexcusable abuse, and it could be at the hands of your family or loved ones. However, when we learn a story like Joseph's, it gives us hope that God is working something out, and we will find purpose in our pain. That pain you're going through is not going to be for nothing. It will come around to be an encouragement to somebody. Many a times our hurts give us opportunity to positively impact the world. Not to think that I'm all that, but I do know this, that because of our journey, working with other families and many families, I have been so incredibly blessed. I see Chris and Pat in here, and I'm like, I've known your children growing. And that's like, Senna, you're shaking your head. Think about, I saw Michael the other day, and he was so tall. And I remember when Michael was just like, yeah, hi, and Nate, right? and Daniel and all these other individuals that we've come to know. And I'm just like, wow, I'm blessed because I've gotten to know so many people. So the point here is that, you can be walking a journey, and the loss of your dream, the loss of what you thought you wanted for your child, meaning that what you may have envisioned or planned did not go the way you thought it will. But there's a big old but. But redirecting your pathway can come about having hope. So, the loss of the simpler lifestyle that I planned for Nick has been a source of disappointment sometimes, because I know how much coordination we have to do the simpler things in life. Traveling requires us to think about how are we going to get there? Do we drive? And how long would it take? Where are the stops? Where are we going to stop at? So that's part of the painful parts. But I'm grateful that out of that process, I've learned strategies. I've learned that I actually love driving. I could drive 3-4 hours, right? So now recently we drove from where? New Jersey to North Carolina. How many hours did you drive?
I think you drove maybe an hour and a half, and then
Oh,
yeah, it's the gas car thing. You're not used to it. It's okay. I get it.
Oh, you just threw me out there. Okay. Yeah. So here it is. We're going on a, how many hours? 9-hour journey. And she did almost 7 hours of it straight. Like we just went. That, right. Isn't that incredible? And so tell the world how come you can drive 7 hours without.
Because we have done road trips up and down the Eastern Seaboard. I think we did Florida twice. We've done South Carolina. We did Virginia. I'm trying to think. We've also gone north. We went to Maine. And I feel like we've had some of our best memories doing road trips. Flying is stressful, but just getting the chance to talk and spend time as a family. So even though vacations weren't exactly normal and we weren't going to Europe, at least we had that time together as a family, and it's always been some of the best memories that we've had together. So
right. But beyond that, what is the thing that taught you how to just sit in the car and keep driving beyond the fact that we did long driving during COVID?
Oh, yes. So Nick has a requirement. It's a requirement that he has to go for a 1-hour drive minimum. So during COVID, when Nick was home, it would be like clockwork in the evening around 5 o'clock. We would go for a 1-hour drive together. So it was me, my younger sister, and Nick. And it was honestly a really great opportunity to also bond and spend time together. So that is part of the reason why I can drive for so long so comfortably now.
So the point here is that out of what's considered could be a painful experience of having to drive around, now has turned into an art where you've mastered the art of driving. Yes. You got long distance and not even blink. And you're right. I remember one year we drove 16 hours to Florida. We did it with no break, just broke to eat and then kept going. And what has that helped me now? I commute 1 hour to work, and it's like no big deal. If somebody hears you go to work 1 hour, I'm like, yeah. Why?
I know. I was like, you drive to Bergen County every day?
Yeah, I drive to Bergen County every day, and it's just like, okay, get in the car, you keep going, and it's just like not a big deal. And it's part of the preparation of, hey, you just have to readjust your life. So the point here is that there are going to be things that will happen in your life that you did not expect. You didn't even imagine, you didn't even envision, but there's a purpose in your pain. So if you're listening to me tonight, or you're listening to it on a replay, know that there's a purpose in your pain. It gives us an opportunity to really impact lives. I know people across the globe now, thank God, who are walking a journey, and I can connect with them regardless. And maybe because of your past experiences and your pain, you're now uniquely qualified to give hope to someone else. Maybe you went through a challenging marriage or divorce, And that experience of somebody else going through, you can encourage them that they will make it through. Maybe you're a single mom and you're struggling, and yet you've managed to raise your child and they're doing well. Now a new parent, you can encourage them with what you've gone through. You know, perhaps your teenage child is showing signs of self-harm, and you're thinking to yourself, how could it be that, you know, this is happening? There's someone that's gone through that journey and found maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist or, you know, counselors that have helped to really navigate their loved one through that. You know, so whatever experiences you've gone through, you are in a position to be a blessing to somebody else by sharing with them that they can make it to the other side. So whatever it is, whether it's a diagnosis of cancer, you have family member that gone through addiction, you know, maybe you've gone through infertility, miscarriages, whatever it is, you are in a unique position to be a blessing. So whatever your
How do you
story is,
recommend sharing?
how do you recommend sharing? I think that's a very good point. I think forums like this, where we're talking, I believe that people want to hear from others. So when you hear that someone is going through something, offer to say, hey, I've been through it and I think you can do it. You know, because we're always surrounded, whether it's coworkers or, you know, neighbors, we have people around us who are going through one thing or the other. I think the key thing is that when you hear about that person going through it, make an effort to reach out to them, to say, hey, I'm here for you. I went through so and so person. If you ever need me, I'm here. I think those are some of the ways that one can offer that sense of hope to someone else. Because your experiences, and I recently was talking to a friend, she graduated from law school like almost 5 or 6 years ago, and has taken the bar exam so many times and kept failing. And finally, she said somebody told her that, hey, have you considered maybe you may have some challenges with learning disability? So she got tested. And sure enough, if she has here's an adult who had gone through law school and had a learning disability. So she needed accommodation to take that exam. And she finally passed. It happened that while she was sharing her story, even before she passed, I knew somebody else who's also trying to take a professional exam and has kept failing. So I asked her, I said, do you mind if I share your information with this other person? And she said, not at all. So now the two of them are connected, and she's now sharing her story with the other person, because there's a sense of shame that she had that, oh, I'm not good enough. How could I have gone to college, graduated, and now I'm not even able to use my professional degree? And because of her willingness to share her story with me, when I learned about the other person, I was able to now connect the two of them. And now this other person now has someone who really understands what she's going through, because I couldn't help her. They look at me like, well, you took your exam and you passed the first time. So you're not in any position to counsel me, right? But the point here is that share your story. So Jen, I love that question, that how do we share? Look for opportunities to talk about how you made it through. And
I do notice though, and sometimes like if you share, sometimes the other person on the other end might put a wall up, like they don't want to hear the story.
Yeah, I think that we need to help people to know that their sharing of a story inspires other people. They have to see the value that comes in sharing. Like I didn't sign up to say, let me come and tell my personal family business all the time, but I do know this. Every time I've done it, there's somebody else who remembers maybe the story at that time and say, wow, what you shared really encouraged me. Maybe I was facing a very dark moment and I remembered you. I've had people come back and say that to me. And I remember when I first started my goal, it used to bother me. Like, how am I going to go around telling my story? Until I went to Ghana and visited. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to go on TV. And on live TV, I was telling the whole country that this is what's going on with my life. And, you know, culturally, that's like, Like, why are you going to share that you have a child that has gotten a diagnosis? I was not a, but there are people out of that experience. I can't tell you how many people have said that has been a blessing to me. So I believe that sometimes people may pretend that, oh, I don't need you to talk to me about what you've gone through. But I promise you that later on they'll go back to it in their head and think about that, or they may be looking at that person later a different way and say, wow, maybe I can draw inspiration from that as well too. I think those are some of the ways that it's important to know that the pain that you're going through is not going to be wasted. It will be a source of encouragement to someone. And I'm just going to even throw that to Senna. Think about your journey through college. Can you think about a painful process that you went through, and how are you using that, or something that, or trepidation or fear you had? How are you using that for other students that are coming through the door?
Well, the whole thing is painful. I'm just kidding. It's a fun time. But I would say probably the one moment that I felt the most discouraged was my junior year. Any college student will tell you finding internships is one of the most difficult parts of college, because it's the part that nobody really tells you how to do, and there's no formula for how to get a job. And I remember I had applied for an internship with a company. I interviewed with them in October. They said they loved me, but not for the position. I interviewed again with them in the spring and right before quarantine. So I didn't apply to any other companies because I was certain that I was going to get this one. And right before spring break, they rejected me and told me I was, they loved me, but not enough. Somebody was better. And that was, I think, one of the most discouraging moments that I had felt in college, was because I'd been able to find internships the summer before. And right before that, my last internship had told me that they didn't think my degree was good enough for me to work for them. So it was a very painful time, and any college student will tell you that rejection process is difficult. But a lot of my friends, and I have to give them the credit, where you're like, you know what, pick yourself up and keep going. Like, we all sat down, we reviewed our resumes together, and I applied through the National Society of Black Engineers. And my friends were like, you know what, you just apply, like, pick yourself up. You've had 2 experiences, not everybody gets the opportunity to have internships. So I applied, and I ended up getting the internship for the company I work for now. So it was just a painful time, but it ended up being really inspirational. And that's what I always tell other students now is, don't allow yourself to be defined by, the fact that you didn't get a job, or the fact that you had this negative experience happen to you. It's not a reflection of you. It's an experience that you've had, and it's just a part of your life. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is just to keep going, because you never know. You keep trying and trying and trying. You never know which time will actually stick. So.
Wow, that's a really awesome story. That you think rejection, and especially when you think somebody thought you were so good, and you were right there and you're ready, you start planning and thinking about it, and all of a sudden they come back and say no. And I know the period that you were talking about was right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
And we think about how that pandemic has changed lives. A lot of students missed out on the opportunity for regular graduation. I'm sure that's a really super painful period. I'm still salty about that period too.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to.
Yours was a year later. I didn't get a chance to be there for your graduation. I'm just like, what? After all that tuition money.
You're fine.
So you didn't have like a formal graduation?
I got the chance to, I got my regalia, and I got a chance to walk across the stage, but none of my family was allowed to be there, nobody.
Oh.
So yeah. So I got the picture, and we have a video of me walking across the stage, but my mom wasn't in the room. So I guess it didn't count for her, but it counted for me. So
at least your year, you got a chance to walk. The people who graduated in 2020, it's just like, that's a dark period. I think There are a lot of families that lost their loved ones that couldn't even be there for funerals. There's so many things that we talked about there. And you look back to those periods and you're like, wow, that's a painful period. But I think what that season also taught us is the importance of valuing these moments that we have now. So people are able to connect again and gather again. So we value the time. We make time to connect with each other, because that period taught us the importance of valuing relationships, valuing the fact that we have air in our lungs and we're breathing. Those are elements that 2020, we just didn't even have and couldn't consider. What about you, Jenna? What is something that you've gone through that has allowed you to just be a source of encouragement to others?
Well, I mean, I know I was working full time, doing my master's, and being a mom, being a wife. That was a difficult time, like as I was doing it. But like a lot of people were like, "Oh, are you crazy? Like, how are you doing that?" And I noticed after I was done, I encouraged a lot of people actually like to do things that they've never done before. And I have friends that went into different careers. I have friends that actually went back to school to do their BA. So, I mean, at that time, I didn't realize it, but then after I like graduated and finished, it was a good thing. And I actually applied for my PhD, and I'm accepted into the program. And my friends are like, "Oh, you're nuts. How are you going to do it?" I was like, "Look, you guys told me the same thing when I was doing my master's."
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. But I have so much going on right now. I have like one girl in college, another one going to college. And
I know you're in college.
Yeah. No, so like all three of us are going to be like students. It's going to be, I don't know. I'm still processing. I'm I'm accepted into the program, but I still have not registered.
Well, you could do it. You did it before, so you can do it again. And it's living out your dream, and it's like one bite at a time. So you've put it out in the whole world, the whole universe now know you got into the program. So now guess what? You have to register. Because now we're gonna hold you accountable.
To be honest with you, even with COVID, like during that time, you felt like it was forever, right? Yeah. I feel like this is forever, but then now I'm like, it passes, time passes.
Yeah.
Those 2 years, like I was doing my master's passed, COVID passed 2 years so quickly. And I know like if I get into this program, it's gonna pass.
Yes.
It's just getting your mindset there, right?
No, and that's important. So you're an inspiration to many people who are saying, wow, I want to go also. So Pat, I'm going to throw you in there. I know you're listening in. So this is an inspiration for you to go for your master's.
I was just thinking about that. I was talking to my friends. I walked to this. I think I'm going to go for my master, get my BCBA. I'm still thinking, but I don't know where. But I really want to, because working with kids, actually, I think I work from kids once they get diagnosed, so it's our job to be able to like teach them how to social skills and everything from age 2 to 5. So I'm loving it, and I'm trying to get my RBT certificate. Then from there, go up to become a BCBA.
Wow, that is amazing! I'm so excited for you. Patricia, incredible. don't overthink it. I overthought it, but looking back, it was really like there's no reason to overthink it because it goes so quickly, and you're gonna feel so good when it's done.
I know.
Yeah, no. And you are gonna have obstacles. I'm not gonna lie. Like you're gonna have to write 10-page papers, and your kids are gonna be like, or your family's gonna be like, "Where's my dinner?" Like there's gonna be obstacles, but you're gonna get over them. It's gonna happen.
That is so true. Ronke is laughing, and Chris is here too. Ronke is double mastered. So we're just talking about going to the next level. And I challenged Pat. I'm so happy to hear that, Pat, because, you know, getting through to even get your bachelor's while you're raising Mike as a single mom, you did it. And, you know, there were moments where you were exhausted and wondered if you can continue. And here it is, you're talking about going forward and getting your master's degree and getting your BCBA. So proud. Because there are going to be moms listening tonight who are pondering, should I do this? Can I do this? Would I be able to do this? So what advice would you tell those moms, Pat?
I would say not to give up because, you know, I went to school, like you're right, when being a single mother, going through tough time, Michael getting suspended from school, calling me back and forth. And I also graduated just like Senna did. I couldn't celebrate it the way I really wanted to because I said, when I get my degree, I'm going to hold Michael in my hand because we did it together. But I couldn't do that. So like I said, I just think like whatever you put your mind into, no matter how much it is, how tough it is, you can push through it as long as you put God first.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy because I remember there was, like you said, I wanted to give up. I said, I can't do this, but I was able to push through.
Awesome. Now tell me, how did you feel about yourself once you got that degree?
Oh my God, it felt so great. I look at myself like, you know, do you know what's so proud of me, Michael? God. I remember when I told him that I remember when I wrote my last paper, I said, Boo, I'm done. I said, you done? Are you mad? I said, yeah, for now, I'm done in school for now. He said, oh, I'm so proud of you. It felt so good. Because I remember when I went back to school, he was bragging. I remember we were even talking about it. He said, so Mama, are you still going to go back to school? I said, still thinking about it. I would think about it. He said, okay, all right. Say, you know what, you can do it though. I said, yeah, I know. But for now, let me enjoy it. It felt really good, you know, because being a single parent, I don't want to come out use the word single parent, but being on your own, because you are able to, people around me able to push me through and be able to encourage me, and no matter what, just keep on doing it. Because if you hear other people's story, that they have encouragement, there are people that can encourage them, help them along, but they couldn't do it. But being on my own, you know, and I'm not gonna lie, it was time, I just want to give up. And remember, I took off for a whole year. I had to force myself to go back again, that I have to do it, just, you know, just to make Michael proud, because whatever I'm doing it for him. Even when I want to give, I have to make sure that you can't give up. You have to make him proud, show that no matter what the situation, you can be able to push through.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I know that there's somebody out there who has started college and maybe has paused. And we're here to tell you today that keep going. You know, it may be a painful season and that's why you're paused, but you're not going to stop. You just keep pressing and keep going. And, you know, the grace of God is there for you to sustain you through it. That's really important. Ronke, you joined us in. I was throwing the question of, you know, what is one thing that you have gone through, that you've come through, that you can use as a source of encouragement to others, if you're able to join us in that convo? Or even Chris, I don't want to miss the opportunity for you guys to share as well.
Hi, sorry I came in late.
Right.
I came in late from work, so I had to join via Facebook first. So for me, I think it was my my son's diagnosis, and with the fact that you know, at that time, I wouldn't say I really don't have much information as at that time. And I feel like if I had known how, you know, the first intervention, which is, you know, like early intervention, how they do it, maybe, you know, Daniel would have been better. And I really, you know, that's actually what got me into, you know, this position. And I'm thinking, so I can encourage families to know that once you're able to start early, you can achieve what you can achieve with you being part of your son's life. I mean, helping them to achieve that milestone that you really want. So whatever you have to do it when they're young. I think that's that part. That's why I am so particular about people getting that early intervention as early, as sooner as they can, because they're still young. You can still do a lot.
Right.
You don't want to wait until it's too late and then you start running. So this is a time to do what you have to do. So
Awesome. And that's very powerful. I mean, you're now in people's homes providing service as an early intervention person, and as an ABA therapist. And I'm waiting for you to take your BCBA. So the exam, so you can be a board certified behavioral analyst, and I know that you can do it. That's what Pat is talking about, because there's a need for that in the community. So we're putting it out in this space. I'd like to hold people accountable. So I wonder what degree I should go get. Anyway.
You don't need any other degree.
I don't need any other degree, huh? Yes, I know. My husband's like, slow down. Can you just slow down a little bit? Can you just hang out and just have fun for a minute? I was very proud of myself. Where did I go recently? I think I went to a wedding. Did I bring my laptop? Yeah, I did. I didn't bring the laptop, but I didn't use it. I was so proud of myself. Can you imagine? How can you brag about the fact that you go on vacation? I said I'm recovering. I'm recovering from I even when I went on a cruise, Janet, it's pretty sad. I went on a cruise and a laptop came with me. It's almost like psychologically I had to tell myself, just in case something is needed, I need to be able to jump on. So I am learning to decouple myself from work. So for some of us, instead of going for additional schooling, it will be the school of relaxation. So that's my that's my prayer. That's my prayer. I don't know, Chris, if you want to add to that, but what are some of the things that you're doing? And when I look at the life of Nate and seeing him doing Special Olympics, it just warms my heart. And in terms of the progress that he's making, so I will speak on that behalf, because I want you to know that is a source of huge inspiration for the rest of us, seeing him do so well with that. So, I hope that, the topic today is encouraging someone out there that if you're living through a hard season, you may not be able to think about what God has in the future for you. That's okay. At this moment, you don't have to know how God will use your pain, but just know that He will. You will get through it. He will give you hope. He'll give you the strength to carry on. So just want to encourage you. There's a scripture of the word that has always encouraged me. And when I started my goal, that's what I've used. It's 2 Corinthians 1, verse 3-5. And it said, all praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father, the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all our trouble so we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. For the more we suffer for Christ, the more God will shower us with His comfort through Christ. So for parents out there who are hurting tonight, maybe what you're seeing that happened in Texas is causing you to live your pain. We just want to encourage you tonight that be comforted. We are praying for you. We're praying for all these families, all the hurts that we've seen, that we promise that God will bring you through the season. And so we stand with you in prayer. We stand with you that God will comfort you and will give you peace. So we also remember the children who were in the school when that thing happened, that those children will also have peace, because I know many of us, even from far, are feeling the hurt on their behalf. So tonight we remember that, and we, just for those who are listening, remember them and remember our nation. I pray that, this type of senseless violence will no longer go forward, because that's not really how it intended to be. So I hope we've encouraged you tonight that there is a purpose in your pain. Whether it's pain because you're loss of a child, pain because you're having to struggle to put things together, whatever it may have been, maybe rejection or challenges, somehow, some way, it will turn out for your good. So my prayer and belief that God will cause all things to work together for your good according to his purpose. And you are, and remember, you are an inspiration. You are, if when you're going through it, you are a source of inspiration. There are people watching you, and there are people praying for you, and there are people applauding you. So, like you said at the beginning, my goal as an organization is just to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities. And we do programs and activities to support our families. So in the month of May, we had a very wonderful outing with some of our moms. We went we did artwork, we went painting. I didn't have it here tonight to show you, but next month I'll show you my artwork. I think I should do it again. It was very relaxing. Next month is Father's Day. So we have a special activity that planned. And Jenna, do you want to share a little bit of what we're doing for the fathers?
So for the fathers, we are recognizing the special fathers in our lives. So we will get to nominate a father, and we will be sending the fathers a gift card to bury the hatchet. It's axe throwing. So axe throwing is supposed to be some kind of a fun, letting go, just stress relieving kind of activity. So we thought the fathers might enjoy this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Senna has done axe throwing before. You want to tell people what to expect? That sounds weird to me, but
I've never done it, but everybody I know loved it.
It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like you have like a target and you have like two types of axes that you can throw, and you like throw them, you try to hit the target. There's a couple of games you can play. Like there's like one, obviously, like you have to hit the bullseye. There's some that you have to like get an exact like amount of points. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a good time. So highly recommend it.
yes. So Jenna came with that idea that we want our fathers to let go and relax. And so we want to be able to send you out. So for the moms out there listening, nominate the dad in your family, or an uncle, or a male father who's been a father to your loved one. And we will want to be able to send them out to this activity. That's our way of recognizing the dad. So think about the male figures in your life who have been a source of inspiration for your loved one with special needs, and let's help celebrate them and acknowledge them. So where can they find more information? They can find information at mygoalinc.org, or you can email us as info@mygoalinc.org. Janet will hear from you and send you the link for that activity for you to sign on. All we're asking is for you to tell us a little bit about that person and how special they are, because we want to recognize the dad. So, once again, my goal, we are here for you and we're here for the family. So any last minute parting words to remind people to stay focused and realize their purpose through their pain will be a blessing to someone. So if anybody has any more last minute word of encouragement for others, I'll open the floor up to that. All right. If not, we're glad that you joined us tonight. Thank you all for coming in. Those of you who are in the room, thank you for those of you who are watching us on Facebook. We also obviously will be on YouTube. Share this information. Remind people there is a purpose in your pain. And then if you've gone through something and you know that there's someone else that can benefit from hearing your story, share it, because you never know how that's going to open that door of hope and encouragement to that person. So on behalf of the whole team here, thank you for joining us and have a great night. And we will see you next month, the last Thursday of the month, for our empowerment moment with Dr. G. And so we'll see you next month.